Here again with another Breaking Bad Season 3 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching Breaking Bad, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find out you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And for those of you that are wondering, I've seen Breaking Bad many times. Somewhere in between 8 to 10 times I've seen the show. I wanted to talk about it again, so join me and the man, the myth, the legend, Crazy Coffee Man in the comment section to discuss this awesome and amazing show. With that in mind, this will be Breaking Bad Season 3, Episode 10. The title of this episode is called Fly. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watch the episode. We have some up-close stuff regarding a fly. I think one shot was under a microscope, setting us up for this diverse episode of Breaking Bad where people either love it or hate it. Walt wakes up at 6 a.m. and it's off to the laundromat. Jesse and Walt are cleaning the equipment. And Jesse says, "Gatorade me, bitch," as he wants like helpers and cleaners to help them clean, and so he can just ask for great Gatorade. So that's why he says the line, "Gatorade me, bitch." Walt's running the numbers and they're off. Jesse's trying to come up with reasons why they would be short, knowing in his mind that he's taking extra of the product and he's trying to cover, to make everything make sense. Jesse asks Mr. White if he's okay, and Walt says, "Yeah, why?" Jesse leaves, and then Walt notices a fly in the meth lab. Now, Walt walks around the lab with his clipboard trying to kill this fly. Walt throws his shoe at it and then breaks a light. So he was throwing his shoe up, and it broke one of the overhead lights that are there. And then Walt has to go get his shoe from up there. And he because it got stuck in like the fixture or something like that, and he tries to kill the fly with a broom when it's on the railing, and he's unsuccessful and actually falls down to the floor. But he falls on top of the cylinder thing first, so he doesn't fall straight to the ground. Otherwise, he would probably have broken bones. But probably was pretty painful nonetheless. And then while sitting in his car, Jesse finds one of Jane's cigarettes in the ashtray. And so Jesse goes back into the lab, and Walt tells Jesse that there's been a contamination, and Jesse wonders what exact contamination are they dealing with here. And Walt tells him that there's a housefly in the meth lab. So Walt's chasing around a fly, and in his world, Jesse's an idiot. That, it doesn't make sense to me either. But, this is just one of those episodes where Walt was a little batshit crazy. So Walt's using his own fly saber instead of a lightsaber, and Walt says it's his swatter. That's what he's calling it when Jesse says fly saber. Jesse thinks Walt's tried their product. Like, dude, are you doing some of the blue? I would think so, especially with Walt's behavior in this episode. So Jesse helps look for the fly, and Jesse was going to pour the bag to start the cook, essentially, and Walt says it stays closed. The fly is on Walt's forehead, and Walt wants Jesse to get it, so Jesse clocks Walt with the swatter. He thought he got the fly, but it's still flying around. And Jesse suggests that they go get some air. And Jesse hit Walt as hard as he could on purpose because he is frustrated with some of the stuff that Mr. White says. At first, you think Walt's agreeing to the plan to go get some air, but instead, Walt takes Jesse's keys because he's like, "You have your keys?" And Jesse shows him. He grabs them and then locks him out of the meth lab. So Jesse turns the power off in the lab. And then Jesse bought a lot of stuff which could help solve their fly problem. Jesse makes some coffee and actually spikes Walt's coffee. So Jesse's up to something. he wants to get more product for himself, is what he's up to. And then Jesse tells Walt a boring story about a possum. That kind of bored me a little bit. And then Jesse's aunt gave the possum a name, Scrabble. Walt tells Jesse something about him living too long. Walt mentions something about the night that Jane died. He tells Jesse he stopped by a bar that night. And he tells Jesse a man engages him in conversation. And then he says it was Jane's dad, Donald Margolis. Now, of course, he didn't know that at the time, but after hearing about Donald Margolis when the plane crashed, that's when he knew. Think of the odds. They talked about water on Mars, family. Donald said, never give up on family. He says that night he should have just never left home and never went to Jesse's house. Wishes he would have died right before he left. And when he was listening to Skylar and Holly on the baby monitor. And then the fly lands above, and Jesse puts a ladder on two things. I'm not exactly sure what they were. And climbs to the ladder to get it, telling Walt to hold the ladder still. And Walt's kind of passing out at this point. And Walt tells Jesse he's sorry about Jane. I think Walt was about to say something that would have really changed Breaking Bad. And Jesse says, yeah, me too. And then Jesse tells Walt, it's not your fault. Jesse says he misses her, though. And then Jesse gets down from the ladder, and the fly lands on the ladder, and then Jesse is able to kill this fly that has been pestering Walt the whole episode. And Walt, at this point has fallen asleep. The drugs finally went into effect. I'm not exactly sure what he put in Walt's coffee, but something. And then Jesse starts cooking. The next morning, Walt mentions if they ever found out about the half a pound. And Jesse says he didn't take shit. I didn't take shit. Walt says he's just saying he wouldn't be able to protect Jesse if he did. And then we have Walt in bed trying to sleep, and there's a fly in his room. Was Walt dreaming this whole time? I don't know. I don't think he was, but part of me wants to say he was a little bit. And that's, of course, what ends the episode. So a lot of people hate this episode and think it's the worst episode of Breaking Bad. It shows how much of a control freak that Walter Hartwell White is. So I don't think it's the worst episode, although no other episodes come to mind. But I don't think this is the worst one by far. I'm going to give it an 8.4 out of 10. And we're just going to have one character of the episode because I don't think we saw any females other than the females that work at the laundromat that don't have a name. So Walt is going to be your character of the episode because he had a really good performance. Jesse as well, too. So you've heard what I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, or El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, and want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comments section and talk to me and Crazy Coffee Man about this episode of Breaking Bad. What would you rate the episode? Do you think it's the worst episode of Breaking Bad? Who would be your character of the episode? I mean, it's one of two people. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You are watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.